I want to start today by asking you a question, and I want you to be totally honest with yourself here. How many times have you woken up on a Monday morning full of, what feels like absolute unshakable resolve?
Oh, yeah.
You look in the mirror and you say, this is it. This is the week I start running. Or this is the week I finally start writing that book. You feel it in your bones.
Hmm.
You are motivated.
It is a really powerful feeling. It feels like a promise you just can't possibly break because the desire is so strong in that exact moment.
Exactly. It feels inevitable. But then,
Tuesday happens.
right, Tuesday happens.
Right.
Or maybe you push through and make it to Wednesday, and suddenly the running shoes are still just gathering dust in the closet, the laptop is closed, and you're sitting on the couch at 8 p.m. wondering, what on earth is wrong with me? Why can't I just stick to it?
And ideally without the spiral of self-loathing, but yeah,
Mm.
that is the universal human experience of trying to change. We just assume we failed because we weren't strong enough or, we didn't want it enough.
Right. We blame our character. And that is why I am so incredibly excited about what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into Atomic Habits by James Clear. But we aren't just skimming the whole book today. We are zooming in with a microscope on Chapter 5.
Which is titled The Best Way to Start a New Habit.
And let me tell you, if you have ever felt like you just aren't a quote-unquote motivated person, or you lack that magical discipline gene, this deep dive is going to change your life. Because our mission today is to look at the data and debunk the myth that you lack motivation.
Right. We are going to prove, using the research from Chapter 5, that what you really lack is clarity.
So let's get right into it. Clear opens this up by talking about the first law of behavior change. Can you set the stage for us? Where does this fit in the bigger picture?
Sure. So throughout the book, Clear builds this framework of 4 laws to build better habits. It's a whole system. And the very first law, the absolute foundation of everything else, is make it obvious.
Make it obvious.
It sounds simple, right? Almost too simple, but profound. Most of us think habit change is about willpower or grit. We think we need to force ourselves to do the hard thing. But Chapter 5 argues that before you even get to willpower, you need to make the cue for the habit undeniable. You need to remove all the ambiguity.
And this chapter gives us 2 absolute power tools to do that: implementation intentions and habit stacking.
Exactly. These are the tools that satisfy the law of make it obvious.
I love these terms because they sound a bit academic, but they are incredibly practical. But before we get to the how-to, we have to talk about this study. Clear references a study from 2001 in Great Britain that honestly blew my mind. It completely flips the script on how we think about getting pumped up to do something.
It's a classic study in health psychology. If you really want to understand why New Year's resolutions fail, you have to understand this study. This is the data that basically drives a stake through the heart of the whole motivation argument.
So let's walk through the setup. Researchers take 248 people. And the goal is simple. They want to help these people build better exercise habits over the course of 2 weeks.
Right. And to test what actually works, they split these 248 people into 3 distinct groups.
Okay, group 1.
Group 1 is the control group. They are just told to track how often they exercise. That's it. No pressure, no advice, just data entry. Tell us what you did.
Pretty standard. Then there is group 2. This is the motivation group.
This is the group that got what most of us give ourselves. They were asked to track their workouts, but they also got the rah-rah speech. They read materials on the benefits of exercise. They learned how it reduces heart disease, how it improves longevity.
They were given the why.
Exactly. They were given the logical, emotional reasons why they should exercise. The researchers essentially tried to inspire them.
And then there is group 3. We'll call them the planning group. They got the exact same motivational speech as group 2, so they were just as inspired. They knew all about the heart disease risks, but they were asked to do one extra, seemingly tiny thing. They had to fill out a sentence.
A very specific sentence. They had to write down, during the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on insert day at insert time in insert place.
Day, time, and place. That is the only difference. So fast forward 2 weeks, the results come in. What happened?
This is where it gets fascinating. In group 1, the control group, 38% of people exercised at least once a week.
Okay, so a little better than 1 in 3. That seems like a pretty standard baseline for human behavior.
Now, group 2, the motivated group, the ones who read about heart health and got the lecture. What is your gut instinct on how they did?
I mean, logic says if you know why something is good for you, you're more likely to do it. I'd expect them to be higher, maybe 50 or 60%.
Their success rate was 35%.
Wait, hold on. It went down?
Statistically, it's basically the same as the control group. But think about the implications of that. The motivation, the speech, the health facts, the inspiration had zero meaningful impact on their behavior.
That is actually kind of depressing. We spend so much time watching motivational YouTube videos or reading articles to get hyped, and this suggests it doesn't move the needle at all.
It creates a feeling, but it doesn't create a behavior. But then you look at group three.
The ones who just wrote down Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the gym,
Group three had a 91% success rate.
a 91%.
It's a landslide. It's more than double the other groups combined.
That is wild. You take two people,
Hmm.
give them the exact same motivation, but the one who just writes down the logistics is nearly 3 times as likely to actually do it.
And that brings us to the core insight of this chapter. Clear writes, most people think they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity.
Clarity.
We wake up and think, oh, I hope I feel like working out today, or I'll do it when I have time. We leave it up to chance. We leave it up to how we feel in the moment. And as we know, feelings are fickle. By 5 p.m., you're tired, you're hungry, and you do not feel like running.
But group 3 didn't have to decide if they were going to exercise.
Exactly. The decision was already made. They just had to execute the plan.
This concept of making the plan beforehand is what researchers call an implementation intention.
Correct. It's a plan you make beforehand about when and where to act. And there is a formula for it that Clear gives in the book. If you are listening and you have a pen or just your phone, you might want to write this down.
The formula is, I will insert behavior at insert time in insert location.
It seems almost too simple to work, doesn't it? But it leverages the two most common cues for action, time and location.
Why does stating the time and location make such a huge difference? Is it just about remembering?
It's way more than memory. It's about cognitive load. When you say, I want to work out more, that is a foggy notion. It requires you to make a decision every single day about when to do it. And decision-making is exhausting.
So you're saying, I will exercise for 1 hour at 5 p.m. in my local gym, cuts through the fog.
It preloads the decision. When 5 p.m. hits, you don't have to ask, should I go? The plan says you go. It also helps you say no to distractions.
Oh, that's a huge point.
If your plan is vague, like I'll write sometime today, then when a friend asks you to grab coffee at 4 p.m., you say yes. You rationalize it. You tell yourself, oh, I'll just write later.
But if your plan says, I will write at 4 p.m. in my home office, you can honestly say, I can't. I have a schedule.
It gives the habit a time and a space to live in the real world. Clear lists some great examples in the text. I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen, or I will study Spanish for 20 minutes at 6 p.m. in my bedroom.
It's closing the loop on ambiguity. And the source mentions this isn't just for personal habits. This works for things like voting, right?
Yeah.
Which is notoriously hard to get people to do.
Yes, this is a great example of this psychology working at scale. Research shows that voter turnout increases when campaigns don't just ask, will you vote, but ask specific follow-up questions. What route will you take to the polling station? What time will you go? Will you take the bus or drive?
Because it forces you to create that an intention in your head. You visualize the commute.
Precisely. Once you visualize the when and the where, the likelihood of doing the what skyrockets. You've mentally rehearsed the act.
So that's strategy number 1. Implementation intentions. Be specific. Day, time, location. But there is a second strategy in Chapter 5 that I think is arguably even more powerful, especially for building a routine that sticks.
Right. This is for when you want to chain habits together.
And to explain it, we have to go back to 1765 and talk about a French philosopher named Denis Diderot.
Ah, the Diderot effect. This story is so relatable, even though it's hundreds of years old. It sounds like something that would happen to anyone today.
So let's set the scene. Diderot was the co-founder of a famous encyclopedia, extremely smart guy, but he was broke. He lived in poverty his whole life.
Until Catherine the Great of Russia heard about his financial troubles. She was a fan of his work, so she bought his library for a massive sum.
It was something like $150,000 in today's money, a huge windfall. So Diderot finally has cash. And what does he do? He buys a scarlet robe.
A beautiful, elegant, very expensive scarlet robe.
He puts on the robe, sits in his house, and looks around. And he realizes everything else he owns looks like garbage.
Right. He wrote that there was no more coordination, no more unity. The robe was too fancy for the rug was too tattered for the chair.
So he starts upgrading. He buys a new rug from Damascus. He buys expensive sculptures. He buys a new mirror to put over the mantle. He replaces his old straw chair with a leather one.
It's a chain reaction of consumption.
And this is what we call the Diderot effect. Obtaining a new possession often creates a spiral of consumption that leads to additional purchases.
We see this all the time. You buy a new dress, so suddenly your old shoes don't work, so you buy shoes. Then you need earrings to match the shoes. Or you buy a couch, and suddenly the throw pillows look wrong.
But James Clear isn't just giving us a history lesson on shopping addiction. He argues that behaviors work the exact same way.
Exactly. No behavior happens in isolation.
Right. Think about the morning routine. You go to the bathroom,
Which leads to washing your hands, which leads to drying your hands, which leads to putting the dirty towel in the laundry.
which reminds you that you need to buy detergent.
It's a domino effect. And this is the key insight of the chapter. Each action becomes a cue that triggers the next behavior. And instead of letting that happen accidentally, like Diderot spending all his money, we can use this connectedness to our advantage.
This brings us to strategy number 2, habit stacking.
This concept was originally pioneered by B.J. Fogg from Stanford. He called it tiny habits, but Clear adapts it here to fit into this make it obvious framework.
So distinguish this for me. How is habit stacking different from the implementation intentions we just talked about?
Good question. Implementation intentions use specific time and location as the cue. I will do X at 5 p.m. Habit stacking uses your current habits as the cue.
So you are piggybacking on what you already do.
Exactly. You are grafting the new habit onto an existing neural pathway. The formula is, after insert current habit, I will insert new habit.
After current habit, I will new habit. I love this because it removes the need to watch the clock.
It's much more natural. You are building on momentum. You already have these strong habits that you do every single day without thinking. Brushing your teeth, brewing coffee, taking off your shoes. Those are valuable real estate in your brain. They are highways that are already built. You're just adding a new exit ramp.
Let's hear some examples from the book. I think
Yeah.
that makes it click for people.
Sure. Here's one for meditation. After I pour my cup of coffee each morning, I will meditate for 1 minute.
See, that is so easy. The coffee is the trigger. You don't have to decide to meditate. The coffee pouring happens, and boom, you meditate.
Here's one for exercise. After I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes.
That is a game changer because usually you take off your work shoes and you sit on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And once you sit on the couch, it's over. The gravity of the couch is just too strong.
The momentum completely stalks. But if the rule is shoes off, gym clothes on, you are keeping the chain going.
One more.
After I get into bed, I will give my partner a kiss.
Nice. It's simple, but it builds connection right into the routine.
And notice the cue is specific. It's not in the evening. It's after I get into bed.
That brings up a really important point about refining this stack. Because I've tried this and I've failed, and usually it's because I wasn't specific enough. James Clear actually shares a personal failure story about this in the chapter, doesn't he?
He does. He wanted to start doing push-ups. So his initial plan was, when I take a break for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups.
Sounds reasonable.
It sounds reasonable, but it failed. Why? Because taking a break for lunch is vague. Do you do it before you eat? After you eat? Ideally, where do you do them? In the kitchen, by your desk.
The ambiguity killed the habit.
Yeah.
He hesitated, and the moment passed.
Right, so he changed it. The new stack was, when I close my laptop for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups next to my desk.
When I close my laptop, that is a crisp, undeniable moment.
Ambiguity gone. The closing of the laptop is the trigger. It's a binary event. It happened or it didn't.
So for you listening, if you're trying to build a stack, you need to find a trigger that is that specific. You can't just say, when I feel tired.
No, that's way too subjective. And there's another pitfall Clear warns about, frequency matching.
What does that mean?
You have to match the frequency of the cue to the frequency of the habit. You can't stack a daily habit onto a weekly cue.
Oh, like saying, after I take out the recycling, I will do my daily yoga.
Exactly. You only take out recycling once a week. Your yoga habit will fail because the trigger isn't there daily. You need a daily trigger, like brushing teeth, for a daily habit.
That makes total sense. Now, there's a really practical exercise in the chapter for finding these triggers, because sometimes we don't realize how many habits we actually have. We think we don't have a routine, but we do.
We really do. Clear suggests making 2 lists to uncover them. List number 1 is habits you do without fail. Get out of bed, shower, brush teeth, brew coffee, flush the toilet.
Yeah, autopilot stuff.
Autopilot stuff. List number 2 is things that happen to you without fail. The sun rises, you get a text message, the song you are listening to ends, the sun sets.
And then you treat these lists like a menu. You look at the habit you want to build, say gratitude, and you shop for the perfect slot in your day to plug it in.
Right. You scan the list. Okay. After I sit down to dinner, that's the perfect slot. After I sit down to dinner, I will say one thing I am grateful for.
It's like programming your day. You aren't hoping it happens. You are coding it into the script of your life.
That's a beautiful way to put it. You are designing the code for your own behavior. And this goes back to the first law. Make it obvious. You are making the cue so obvious that you can't possibly miss it.
You know, what I love about this chapter is that it takes the pressure off being a better person. I don't need to be a disciplined superhero. I just need a better plan.
That is the liberating truth of atomic habits. We tend to blame our character when we fail. I'm just lazy. I have no willpower. But usually it's just a design flaw. Your environment and your plan aren't set up for success.
So let's wrap this up and give you the summary you need to take action today. We covered two main formulas from Chapter 5.
Formula number 1, implementation, intention. I will insert behavior at insert time and insert location. Use this for one-off tasks or when you need absolute precision.
And formula number 2.
Habit stacking. After insert current habit, I will insert new habit. Use this to weave new behaviors into your existing daily flow.
And remember the lesson from the British study, motivation is completely overrated.
Environment and clarity matter more. Don't wait for inspiration to strike. Design a plan so obvious that you don't even need inspiration.
I love that. So here is our challenge to you. Stop waiting to feel like it. Stop blaming yourself for not having enough willpower. Instead, look at your morning routine tomorrow.
Find one habit you already do. Pouring coffee, brushing teeth, making the bed.
And ask yourself, what is one tiny thing I can stack on top of that? Not a huge life overhaul, just one atomic habit.
Maybe it's after I brush my teeth, I will floss one single tooth.
After I pour my coffee, I will take one deep breath. Start there.
And see what happens when you let the Diderot effect work for you instead of against you.
And just to leave you with one final thought to mull over today, think about why we are so obsessed with motivation in the first place. There is a multi-billion-dollar self-help industry out there built entirely on the premise that you're broken and you need to buy their app or their supplement or their coaching program to get motivated. But what if you aren't broken at all? What if your hardware is perfectly fine and you just needed to update the software of your environment? Once you realize that, you stop being a consumer of motivation and you become the architect of your own life. That is all for this deep dive into Chapter 5 of Atomic Habits. Go find your stack, and we will catch you on the next one.